Greetings traders, this is Houston Trong from thetradingedge.org, and here is your weekly market outlook for April the 6th to the 10th, 2020. And so we are done the first trading week of Q2, and it was a bit of a quieter one. So the markets are still trying to discover or still trying to price in all this uncertainty around the ongoing COVID-19 drama, the oil saga, which is still unfolding, and just a lot of global uncertainty around the possibility of a global depression. So even though price stay within its ranges for the most part this week, this coming week should be an important one, as price is at a point now where at the tip of the hat it can go either way. So a lot of traders now, it's time to be a little bit more diligent. Traders have made their bets, and now we need to see which way the markets go. So as for the econ calendar, we do have a couple of important items on the calendar to watch for. There's that oil report always on Wednesday, which will be interesting, as the state of oil is, I think, really moving the markets right now. So the markets are paying very close attention to the oil movements, and so we got that 10:30 oil report on Wednesday. FOMC minutes again on Wednesday at 2 p.m. Usually a market mover, but right now, because there's so much other news flow going on, and everyone's expecting the Fed to continue their stimulus and maybe add even more stimulus, then that will be something to watch. The jobless claims number, once again on Thursday, people are watching that very carefully. This past week was another massive number in terms of the number of jobless claims applied. I think over the past 2 weeks now, we have over 10 million Americans who have applied for unemployment insurance in the last 2 weeks alone. So, is this a trend that's going to continue? We're going to see even bigger numbers, or do they shrink? And we need to see the data point there. And then CPI on Friday at 8:30 in the morning. So that's what you need to watch out for in terms of the econ calendar. Let's flip over to the charts now, as you always do. Go through the weekly charts, talk about the week that was, and then we'll talk about the week coming up and what to expect. So as we always do, let's start with our friend the VIX. And what's the VIX been telling us? Well, it's been showing us, and as I've been saying, in many videos, the VIX cannot remain very elevated for long, and that's what we've been seeing now for the past about 2.5 weeks, where the VIX has come in close to 50%, right? So this past week, VIX had a bit of a bounce in the early on in the week, but then it came back in again. So at the high level, what can you say? This month of April starts off right in the middle of the past month's range. So we had a huge month, obviously in March. Markets basically collapsed. It was up over 100%, close to 200% at one point. And now we're deep inside the prior month's range. So anytime you get an inside bar like this, it's inside. The question is always, how do you get outside that range, right? Like, how do you get out of that? Is it break to the upside or is it break to the downside? More than likely, when you have this kind of range, it's going to be inside month. It would take something very exceptional for all of a sudden for the VIX to go down here again in the course of 1 month. That literally would mean that there is no more fear left, and we're back to the complacency that we were at, going into March. I don't think it's going to happen, right? So I don't think we're going to see VIX at these levels again for a long time, because uncertainty is certainly one of those things that it seems to be not. It seems to be a phenomenon that's not going to be changing anytime soon, given all the macro and fundamental stuff that's coming out right now. So right now on the month, you got the inside month. On the weekly chart, it was an inside week, so it was tight. So yes, VIX did continue to sell off. And interestingly, you'll see this divergence in a few moments here. Equities went down. So the indices for the week, all the indices ended red. All right, so they had red weeks. But guess what? VIX also had a red week. So how does that work? So a lot of traders, if you don't follow the VIX, you might think that VIX is a fear indicator, and it's supposed to be the inverse of equities, or the SPY specifically. And that's not always the case. As you see now, this week here is a good example of it. You had a red week on the VIX. You also had a red week on the SPY. And so the VIX is its own instrument. And we can never forget that. It's always important to trade the instrument in front of you and not to try to get too cute with the correlations, because the correlations can sometimes, obviously change. And this week, at the end of the day, it boils down to supply and demand. People are selling off the VIX because there's simply more sellers and buyers. And yes, you could look for a big causal narrative to try to explain those things, but then that would just be a story, right? And that story could change very quickly. And so as traders, you don't get paid to have fancy stories and narratives about why things move. It's always nice to figure out why, if that makes you more secure about things and it makes you more, gives you more certainty. But as I've said in the past, as traders, we have to learn how to deal with uncertainty, right? And that's why trading is an art that involves speculation. If there was no speculation, there'd be no trading, right? So as traders, we get paid to take on risk. That risk is in the form of uncertainty, and that's what makes us speculators. If we wait for certainty until you actually understand what the narrative is, what the causal reasons are, you may wait forever, or you may be fooling yourself thinking you actually understand what's going on when in fact you may not. So at the end of the day, as traders, mostly it's about, especially in the short term, it's about that demand and supply. Right now, more sellers than buyers. And what's it telling you right now? Inside week. This could change very quickly. Inside week, we'll draw our ranges now, right? So boom, it broke below the prior week's. It's underneath this week's low, right? From 2 weeks ago. It's been trading underneath there. See that level right there? That low, it got tapped on this week, and I'll show you that on the daily chart. So here, right, to begin the week, we've gap filled this gap that was here. So it was a gap here at 45.61 right here on Tuesday. So here's your Monday open. Okay, so Monday opens right there, small gap down, right there, and then it closes there. On Tuesday, it gap fills. So we can delete that line now. That has now been filled. So the next gap to the downside we have down here. To the upside we have a gap right there. All right, so right there, let's leave that line there now for us. And then for the rest of the week, it just basically did a bunch of backfilling. So it came down, hit the gap filled here, so 45.61, went as low as 45.42. I covered some there. Remember, I was short VIX from up here. I covered most of it there, and I still have more VIX to cover here. 38.66, looking for this gap to get filled. Because if you recall what I said in last week's video, it pulled back here. Look, here it pulled back, tapped the prior week's low. Double tap again this week. See, here on Monday, it came down. Well, at one point it did a tap up here, retested that area, it's become support, resistance now, then came back down. Then on Wednesday, popped up, and then they sell it off the rest of the week. This low is lower than that low. Okay, so now this coming week, this is the week's low, right there, the current week's low. If you break below there, the expectation when you have this type of pattern, because it's basically this, it's an A, B, you're looking for a continuation C move that will break below this prior pivot. If this doesn't happen, if you don't get that low taken out, you want to know that, right? If all of a sudden it breaks above these ranges here and starts coming back up, then yes, that area here becomes very much in play. But for now, because it's doing this classic A move, B counter trend, consolidation, and then potential C move down, expecting that to get taken out, and this would put this gap and that gap in play quite quickly. Okay, so right now, even though there's a lot of uncertainty in the air, VIX is not showing it right now. They're consolidating. This past week was ended red, and the expectation still is that this thing goes down. If it doesn't, that's when you want to change your bias. But right now, it's trading full time from alignment to the downside. Right, there's your weekly open, that purple line. We've got the new quarter, new month right there. That purple line, that blue line right here, that's a combination of an orange line and a blue line, which is why it's a bit dark. So now you're trading, so long as you stay below those levels, right, you're trading full time from alignment to the downside. So you do not want to be a buyer right here, VIX. You buy VIX below these areas, it's liable not to work. Okay, so that's just something you'd be aware of. So that's the levels for the weekly chart, the daily chart, I mean, and I'll show you one thing here. So here you're right at the 20 period. So this 20 period right there, this green line is the 20 period. The last time it hit there, it tested it. You see that, and it popped back up. On Friday, we tested it again. Okay, so this is the 20 period. Now, question is, does it hold? It actually closed below the 20, so it actually closed below it. So now, last time they could not close it below it. Here they did. So does that give sellers enough, juice now to continue to get this VIX to melt? And again, we're not expecting it to come back down here, but somewhere in here would be very likely. So the VIX is already trading down 50+% from its prior peak, right? So it came down as low as like 49.90, 49%, so close to 50%. Now it's down 43% from its previous peak, right? So VIX certainly melted a lot, and we're not where we were before in terms of the fear factor, like we were in mid-March, right? So that was very exceptional there. And like we said, when VIX melts, and remember this chart, when things get parabolic like this, there's some great fitting opportunities, and I'll show you a chart later on in the video about a short that I took on a stock that looked very similar to this. Not quite as extended, but very similar. We'll get to that in a few moments. Now, let's so that's the play now for VIX. It's currently going down. So it went inside bar down, so it's already starting the momentum to the downside. Does it continue, or does it somehow pop back up now? And again, you need to watch this level here, right? The current week's high. So you know, you want to see in the weekly chart, does it break down, goes inside week and down, or does it go inside week somehow back up? If that happens, we know that gap's right there. Okay, so that's the range you want to be watching there in the VIX. On to the SPY. Okay, so inverse. In a way, this week not really that inverse, but here's the big picture. Once I show this to you once, you won't need to see this on the Qs or the diamonds because they're identical. Okay, so right now, outside quarter, that's what ended. That's Q1. Q1 ended, it's outside quarter. Now, you're deep inside the prior bar's range. Just like this VIX, how do you get outside this range? That's going to be the question. Right now, you have a better chance of either staying inside or going to the downside because it's closer, right? To break below this prior low, that's right there, okay? Imagine to get back to all-time highs, you have to climb all the way back through that range. That means you literally have to traverse from the current close to the prior high 36%, 37%. That would be remarkable for that to happen, you know, in this current environment. Not saying it's impossible. Maybe crazy things have happened. Maybe they actually probably haven't, but anything's possible. Probably not probable though. It's more likely that we're going to see this test here because given the bearishness out there, would not be surprised that you have a lot of sellers who cannot wait to take that low out so we can get that 50% pullback that a lot of people and myself have talked about. So there's your quarter, right? So the SPY looks like that, the Qs look like that, and the diamonds look like that, DIA. Okay, monthly chart, outside down. So Momo down right now on the SPY. Here's your inside month. We just began April, right? A lot of April left. Can you take out this low here? If you do, that's, you know, Momo down continuation. Otherwise, if you can somehow take out that high, if somehow the Dow, the SPY, the Qs can go all the way back there and take out that bar's high, that will extinguish the momentum on the monthly chart. It would be remarkable if it did that. Okay, so that would be remarkable. That would be definitely an outlier there. That would be a very, very huge rally. Again, more likely is you either get an inside scenario like this, multi-month pattern, right, that goes inside this range, or somehow things get very, very bearish and some bad news comes out that's really, really bad. We break below those lows and it continues, right? And then you have that momentum to the downside. So that's what's you need to watch for SPY, Qs, and Dow. So the SPY, it's setting up already, right? So there's your prior lows right there, okay? So this week, it was a very big range, right? Just like I said, when you have a huge bar like this was an outside bar last week. How do you get outside of it? It opened here, right? So here's the open. It was actually very close to taking out that high. It did it. So it peaked above, and then sellers came in right away and hit it and came back into the top third of the range. So you close in the top third of the range. Now, the question is, what's the next bar, as always? Here's the issue, because we redraw our ranges now. If you break below this current week's lows, you're coming out the other side. This is going to immediately put that low in play. So that's the prior lows. So this is now very risky because this is actually a reversal pattern. Outside bar, up, that's Momo up, right? That means Momo up. That means anyone who got involved here, it's a momentum move. If they break it below here, then all these guys who got long in this sequence are at risk. And you're going to see people get flushed very, very quickly. So you want to watch out. This is a very, very important range here now. You break below that low right there, you're in trouble. Okay, so this week's low is very, very important. If it comes back out there, people are going to try to push it aggressively back to the downside. So that level is something you need to watch for. Now, on the daily chart, very choppy stuff because you're back in the prior week's range, right? So you popped up on Monday, you came up a little bit, and look at that test. See that area right there? That blue, that green line, that's your 20-period moving average. So the reason why I'm talking more about moving averages now is because price is trending, right? So I'm not a huge moving average trader. I know to watch when to watch moving averages and what people are doing around moving averages. I don't use them in my trading, but it's important to know what other people are doing because a lot of people use moving averages, and the market at the end of the day is just the sum of its participants. So you want to know who you're trading against, who you're trading with, and who you're competing against. So understanding moving average traders, when they see things like this, right, and they see the moving averages cross and then spread out, it's trending, right? You have the 8 period, the 20, and the 50. There's your 200. It's trending to the downside. So these are actually selling areas. Okay, so these moving averages, people will tend to try to sell them versus buy them anymore, right? When it was back here, right, when trend was, here, I'm gonna hide that off. When price was climbing the upside, people were buying moving averages to the upside, right? They're buying these taps. Now it's flipped, you know, and price now is the moving averages are actually extending. So this is getting a little too extended, but here again, it came back together again, and now you could see another second leg down possibly. So here, this is what we saw on this is Monday, Tuesday. Look, Tuesday hit the 20 period. So there's a great short there, and I took this short on a reversal on the 60 minute chart. So right here. So I'll show you an example of a trade. Here's the 60 minute right there. So this is a Tuesday, right? Right there. See how it hits the 20-day moving average right there? Let's zoom in here to the 60-minute chart. It's this sequence right here. Right there. So read the sequence now. Outside bar up, Momo move. Okay, so that's a Momo move to the upside. So for the first 2 hours of the trading day, the bulls look like they're in full control. Okay, so this is what creates the higher high on the week. Right, this is the prior week's high right there. This move here breaks above the prior week's high. So bulls think they're in full control here until that happens. It goes outside bar down. There's your reversal signal, right? Momo up. As soon as this low gets taken out, and I know it's a little small here, so I'm going to try to zoom in a little bit more. As soon as this low gets taken out, there's your reversal signal, okay? And it comes back in again, and then they basically stopped out anyone who got long. That's Friday, that's Monday, they all got stopped out. That's Thursday, so they all got stopped out, right? And the last few days was just chop. You can see how choppy that is the last few days. But that's a great short there, because you're testing the daily 20. People are looking at that area. 2-day chart, why it's so choppy is because of this. Well, this is not because of it, that's what it looks like. It's an inside bar on the 2-day chart. It's that tight of a range. So even though the SPY ended the week red, as we know already, it wasn't a huge red week, right? It was pretty choppy. Although given the ranges, still down 2.16%. So nothing, in other times that would have been a really good range, but after having weeks where we were down 11% and 10%, it was a very, very tight week, relatively speaking. So back to this week and what to look for. We want to watch out for the weekly low, right? You do not want to see that weekly low get taken out if you're a bull. The issue here now is that you're trading potentially with full time frame alignment of the downside, like the VIX is. So here's your potential sell setup right now. Friday, they broke above the prior day's high, inside bar on Thursday. Inside bar up, you break below Friday's lows, it's trouble, because you break below there, you're coming after that low there, and then that low there. That low there is the weekly low that will trigger the weekly reversal. So right there, your daily low for Friday, you break below 245.22. We're probably more than likely going to break below the weekly low. All right, so that's your level on the SPY. You definitely need to watch for that, see if it breaks. So potential inside bar reversal to the downside there on SPY to trigger the weekly. Very, very nice setup on the short side there. And you'll be trading with full time frame alignment, right? So there's your purple line. That's again your combination of the orange line of the month, the blue line of the quarter, yeah, that's going to be full time frame alignment at the downside. If you break below that level and you stay below there, then the sellers will show up and they're going to take out that low there, and you know what's going to happen. That'll be Momo down on the weekly chart. On the monthly chart. So watch out for that. Okay, so with that being said, now I can go faster on the Qs because it looks the same. So on the Qs, I'm actually not going to do much other than all and just show you that it's basically the exact same chart. Okay, so outside weekend up, looking for the exact same thing, same pattern to break now onto the downside. So I'm just going to rearrange these ranges, rearrange the ranges, so we see that more clearly next week. But you see it right there. You want as a buyer or as a bull, you do not want to see this past week's lows get taken out. Okay, same thing with the diamonds. So DIA, exact same pattern. 3-month chart, yes, outside bar, currently an inside quarter, currently inside month, currently Momo down, And unlike the SPYs and Qs though, it did not go outside bar up this past week. This is the only difference. This one and yeah, so this one here stayed inside week. That's how tight it was. So you can see right there, inside week. Now we gotta draw our ranges. For Dow, you do not want to see this thing resolve to the downside. Breaks to the downside. Outside, inside, if this guy goes breaks below here, you're coming after those lows there, and then you're gonna get that Momo and down in the month continuation. So very important week coming up here for the Dow and the Qs and the rest of the indices, because they're setting up now for potential reversals to the downside with full time frame alignment. In the Dow here, man, you don't get much nicer than this. Outside, inside on the daily chart. Okay, so you break below that low there, you trigger the weekly low, right? That's an inside week. So this outside, inside daily could trigger the outside, inside on the weekly. All right, so that's a very, very nice signal there. So watch out for that. Okay, so anything on the 4-hour chart I wanted to show? It's kind of already started on the 4-hour chart. The weakness you can see here. This is Thursday, and with outside inside, it popped up on Friday briefly. Right, they sold it right away, and then here you're inside bar reversal. So started already. The second half of of Friday, they broke below the prior bar's low, but they bought it back a bit to close the week. But it's very, very weak still because it's below that monthly, quarterly open, below the weekly open, full time frame line at the downside. If this thing keeps going, which it should, and if it doesn't, you need to know that. You want to pay attention to that. It will take out that low, and that will trigger the inside weekend down. Okay, so that's your Dow. Russell, similar but a little bit different as always. Russell's kind of been an orphan. It's kind of been trading in its own little world, and it's not been a good world. It's been trading, very negatively. And we have the outside inside for the quarter monthly chart, currently inside month, and you got the inside week on the inside bar on the weekly chart. So there, drawing your ranges. How does that weekly chart break? That's what you want to wait for now. The issue is that you already got the downside momentum here. On Friday was actually quite a bearish day. Quite isn't a question, maybe too strong a word, but it was a bearish day for most of the day for the Russell, because you ended the day red. You had more opportunities on the sell side, on the buy side, and so you had the momentum. Got the Momo down, outside bar down. Okay, so you get your Momo down. So the thing keeps going. The only way to extinguish this Momo, if you know these videos, is if you got to take that high. So you got to break above Friday's high to alleviate the Momo. The issue with that is you still got that quarterly and monthly open right there. So right now the sellers have control of the Russell, and if they just keep going with the Momo, right, that will break the inside week. And look, you're not far from the from those prior lows, right? Those lows are right there. They're very close. They're not far at all. And so the Russell could very well see a 50% pullback, and we're close, right? So here's we came down as low as, where were we here? So we were down 44.8%. I'm saying this pivot here is very easy to take out. That's a very likely pivot on the quarterly chart here. So that would be a 46% pullback, and that's very reasonable, right? So that's not unreasonable at all for that pivot to get tested. So at this point here now, yeah, Russell getting very close to taking out that low and then extending the selling. So this week will be very interesting to watch because it's getting very close to going inside week and down there. Russell leading the way to the downside. TSX, any difference there? No, all the indices look very, very identical. The correlations in sell-offs are very, very high, and this is the exact same pattern. Outside quarter, inside month. Outside, inside so far in the quarter, inside month so far, but it's Momo down. Momo down. Look at that broadening formation. We drew that months ago. It's hit it pretty much to the T. Right, pretty much to the T. So hanging on there. But here, all right, outside, inside on the weekly chart. So what happens there now? So I'm just gonna grab my other level right there. How does that resolve? You need to watch for that. The outside, inside, and here now on the 2-day chart, yeah, you have the beginnings of an inside bar reversal to the downside. There is your prior week's low. Very tight week, right? Look at that, how tight this week is. Okay, so here's your inside bar and up. Inside bar here for the past 2 days. This is the 2-day chart. You break below there, they take out that pivot, and they go after that pivot, and that will trigger the inside weak to the downside, outside inside to the downside. So very, very bearish. Again, potentially for the TSX here, we might see more losses coming up if that scenario unfolds. So I would definitely be positioning to the short side here now, especially if it breaks below that area. Expecting continuation. Emerging markets, are they faring any better? For the most part, no. So on the monthly chart here, you have the Momo and down. It's been going for a while now, right? So Momo down, down, and inside bar so far. So it started, you know, way back in December. Momo down, so I saw outside bar. Then Jan goes Momo down, down, and then inside bar. Okay, so same thing as TSX here. Isn't it remarkable how all the charts kind of look the same? It's all outside bar 2 weeks ago, right? We had that big sort of reversal, the kind of dead cat bounce, if you want to call it that. And this past week, they've been slowly giving it back, right? Some indices popped above the prior week's high, but they sold. The sellers came in, and now here you get an inside bar. That means the buyers, they ran out of energy, right? They ran out of juice. Like the buyers have to step up here and break below this high, above this high, to show they have continuation. Otherwise, if the sellers step in and they can break below that low, the buyers are going to be in immediate danger. Anyone who bought this bar, they have to worry it's not going to come out the other side right there. Okay, so there's your inside week on emerging markets. And I believe here on the 2-day chart, yeah, so it's starting already. Okay, so outside, so this is 2 weeks ago, right? So here's your Momo up, Momo. So there's your outside bar, up again, inside, stalemate. Okay, so they stalemate it right here. Momentum gets extinguished right there. Stalemate here. Okay, now which way is it break here? Which way does this bar break on the 2-day chart? To the upside? And maybe they take out the prior week's high. That would go outside week and up. That'd be interesting, right? That'd be interesting. Or if it goes outside week and down, it would start here. It breaks below that low there, takes after this week's low, and then boom, back down again. So, you know, this is if you can read these charts, they're very, very apparent now. It's going to be a very good trading this coming week because we're going to have a very, very clear indication of which side is going to be right very quickly. Okay, so long as you don't just stay in here and just do a bunch of chop, if you're above either that area or that or below that area, very clear who's winning this battle, right? And it's very clear which area to be, which stance to take, what bias you need to be taking. Okay, so emerging markets look like that. How about TLT? Should we do TLT first? Yeah, let's do TLT first. We'll do TLT, then we'll talk about oil because oil has been in play. TLT, let's go a big picture first. So 3-month chart, TLT looking pretty strong, right? So the quarter ended inside quarter and up. Yes, gave back some gains here, but look, you're still up here now. Inside quarter to begin the quarter. Currently, inside month, big. We talked about this last week. You know, big bar there, outside bar, and trading in the top maybe third of this bar. Inside month. How do you get outside of that, right? So how do you get outside of that? But clearly, right now it's inside month. You want to watch though, can it stay above this quarterly, monthly open, or does it trade back below it? Because if all of a sudden it comes back in here, then all of a sudden you're trading full time frame line to the downside again, right? And then you have a chance of this coming back down in this range. Okay, so there's your TLT on the monthly. Here's the issue here, right? You're trading inside this big range. Okay, so right now it's making its way up. You just need to make sure that it keeps going up. It is doing a Bollinger Band walk now. So if it does break below this low, right, closes below here, it's coming back into this range. All right. So there's your TLT. I'm just going to change the ranges a bit here now to show this week's range. Okay. So tight stuff on TLD. On the 4-hour chart, what do we have here? I think we had a, let's just double check. Yeah, so outside bar to end the week. Okay, on TLT, tight stuff, very tight stuff. You can see the Bollinger Bands are actually contracting. So it's actually consolidating. That means it's getting rangier, right? We saw it already, how tight this week was on the weekly chart. So now the 4-hour chart's even consolidating further. Which way does this 4-hour chart break? To the upside or the downside? That's going to tell you a lot going into Monday. Which side of this 4-hour bar does it break? Okay, and you just need to follow that because that will indicate to you whether it's a Momo move to the upside or to the downside. And then when does that moment get extinguished? To the upside or the downside. I'll give you an example, right? So here's an outside bar, right? There's no point making like, so you can predict whichever way it's going to go. You can say, okay, I'm gonna try to short this thing. Well, you were right a little bit until that happens, right? Then you go inside bar back up again. So there's a very, this point here, it was very close to taking out that high. It did not, but it went outside bar down again. Here's the outside bar, down, 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 right? Extinguished right there, back up. So that's the understanding of outside bars. Okay, so TLT. Let's talk about UK oil. Boy, oil has been getting hammered. And I'm just going to bring up the right oil contract here because I drew another chart here in the past. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Which is the chart? I'm just going to pull it up here. I think I've shown this before. Yes, that contract there. I've shown this before, and boy, did our broad information nail this one, right? So this, I drew this broad information months ago. We're talking months, maybe even a couple of years ago now, at least a year ago, and to have that finally play out in the way it did, given how fast that happened, that was the surprise. Wasn't not a surprise that it hit the level, just that it hit it basically within one. That bar there was a 48% move, so that was unexpected, but not unexpected that we'd see a lower low. That's the way price works. You always see lower lows, and so there they found the buyers, right? And they stepped out. So outside bar down, down. Currently inside bar. So right now you got a stalemate on between the buyers and sellers. The sellers have not been a step up right now. You see the buyer stepping in. So that there's our broad information that played out. It took months to play out, but we got that move to the downside, finishing that broad information. Now, if you have full time from alignment to the upside, there's a chance we work our way back up again, right? You just need to watch the time frames to make sure you're aligned. So there you go. There's your big monthly chart on oil. And this week, with the political shenanigans and the president of the United States and everyone else chiming in to talk up oil, they did it. So oil had a big relief rally this past week, up 40%, so not bad. Trading down close to 20. I think that some charts, depending on which contract you're looking at, was down as low as 20. This CFD contract for Brent went as low as 21.64 and then rallied, close to 40% from there over that. So took out that pivot high, creating the outside bar, right? So isn't that funny how we have all these outside bars after from these dead cat balances? Right, like the SPY and the Qs all had that outside week, right? There's your outside week on the SPY. There's your outside week on the Qs. But there's your outside week, so it looks very, very bullish, right? But it is an outside week, so we now know it doesn't take much for outside weeks to change. Because look, this was very bullish at the time. Looked bullish if you don't know price. Like here's your last outside bar. Looks similar. You had a huge cascading run to the downside, met with a big outside bar. Dead cat bounce, anyone? You get a little continuation. Oh, okay, everything's great again. All right, oil's going to come back up to the range and go back to those prior highs. Really? All it takes is that, right? So once you get a low like that taken out, it's coming after that pivot, which is why I've been telling you on the SPYs and the Qs, you need to watch out for this scenario, this exact scenario here, because that happens and then that happens. When you get a reversal, it takes out this prior week's low. So this is what we've been saying on equities. Watch out for that low to get taken out, because I'm not saying it will happen exactly like this, but this is what can happen when you have this type of reversal. Outside up, momentum move, right? It's Momo up. That's why I call it momentum. Momo up. Momentum guys will get stopped out very quickly. Momo guys are weak longs because they're chasing, right? They're chasing. Not all of them. Guys who are down here are not chasing. But the ones who were involved recently, they're chasing, and they will get stopped out. They'll be the first ones to get stopped out, because this here will end up being the tip of the spear, right? And these guys here will be the first one who get out, who get stopped out. And if they don't get stopped out, they'll be liquidated. So there's your move, and now you know what happens on a reversal. So back to oil, would not be surprised whatsoever. You have another week of gains, right? But then once again, you need to watch out for that extinguishing of the Momo to take things back down again, especially if you don't have time from alignment on your side. Okay, so there's your oil picture for that. And on the 2-day chart, I think it was interesting just because I'll pull it up here. Yeah, this scenario here is a very, very nice reversal. I don't trade oil myself, to be honest. I don't trade the oil futures. I usually don't even focus that much on oil stocks. Just not something in my wheelhouse. But it was some really nice moves there this past week. So here it was cascading down, right? This is a big sell-off, and then it goes inside. So they had 6 days, because this is a 2-day chart. 6 days of consolidation, and it goes inside bar down, right? So it looks very bearish until that happens. This happens here is an inside bar reversal to the upside, right? Because these guys here who thought they made a lot of money, they get reversed on this bar. It means, you know, they put their stop here, they're going after them right away. And then you get continuation move the last 2 days, plus 36% in 2 days on the oil contract. So that's a really, really good move there on the 2-day chart. So nice trading for oil, guys. Hope you guys enjoy that trading because it's been pretty wild from the outside looking in. Okay, so, and you know, I'll just show you, you know, price is price, especially when price starts to trend, then it's very easy to hop on these trades. I just don't happen to trade oil. Outside, inside, this is the 4-hour chart. Outside, inside, inside, right? So there's your compression. So compression, expansion, compression, compression. Breaks to the downside, right? Things you have time frame alignment on your hands, on your side. Above the quarterly, above the monthly, above the weekly open. Your bias is still the upside. Once this thing brings back above there, it's gone. All right, inside bar reversal back to the upside. Expect this high to get taken out there. Should. If it doesn't, then you want to know about that. Okay, let's talk now about gold. So we saw the move into commodities in terms of oil. What did they do with gold? How's gold been doing? So let's take a look now. All right, on the gold front, so we're looking at the MGC contract, the micro E-minis for gold, and gold. Let's go big picture first because you got a lot of Momo there. Okay, so this has been basically Momo since here. You know, we talked a lot about outside bars now. I hope you understand them better. Starts here actually, right? Starts with a reversal. Outside bar down, reverse right there. Q4 2018. Remember those conditions? How bad things looked in Q4 2018 when you had that end of year sell off. Gold stepped up, right? So whatever's going on right at that point in the world, right? We were in a protracted period of you can draw it, of a multi-year consolidation period, right? So you can see it there. I'll draw this level even lower. Oops, something like to that effect. Okay, so gold had been priced in this range for a multiple year period, right? Going back to 2016, yeah, even going further, going back to 2013. So this is a multi-year consolidation pattern. Okay, something finally happened here, right? So in 2018, at the end of it, when we had that big sell-off, and going in 2019, some spark happened, right? And maybe in the future we'll know exactly what caused the mind of participants to change, or the majority of their minds to change. But gold all of a sudden became an asset worth holding again, and people started legging into it, right? So here, outside bar down, Momo gets extinguished, and they immediately go after that pivot high there, right? That will break the support, that'll break the resistance. They do it here in Q2 2019, and then it's gone outside bar up, up, up. So 1, 2, 3. Well, this doesn't count because we just started this quarter, but we had 3 consecutive quarters now of green. This one, not counting this one, right? So very, very strong movement out to the upside. We expect more good things from gold at this point. It seems to be, you know, if you want to listen to the fundamentals, it seems that the fundamentals are there now for gold in an environment where people are beginning to price up the possibility of very high levels of inflation because of the money printing. If you don't get inflation, you're going to get massive deflation. So given the alternative, I think central banks and the governments of the world would rather have inflation than seeing all the assets basically trade to zero. So outside inside of the month, a lot of month to go. Outside month last month. Here inside week. So gold had a huge reversal. Outside bar down and up. Right, we're getting very close to taking out that pivot high now. Expect that probably to get taken out at some point inside week. So let's redraw the ranges. How do we break this inside week? That's what we're going to try to see here now. How do we break to the upside if you want a continuation move? So on the daily chart here, let's see here on the daily chart on MGC. Actually, it's better on the 2-day chart. So here, it's already kind of started. This is the prior week's high. So now with the new week coming up, this purple line won't be there. It'll be down here somewhere, wherever it opens. Inside bar down, it broke above that bar right there the last 2 days. Okay, so inside bar reversal to the upside. Now going after that pivot high, that will create a that will break above the prior week's high, this current week's high. So it's already unfolding. It's starting to play out, and that's what you want to see now is this continuation. So right now, you definitely want to be looking to get on board gold. GLD or MGC or GLD because it seems to be climbing higher now. So look for a reversal to get back in on a to get better trade location. Okay, so there's your MGC, and finally we'll talk about Bitcoin. Bitcoin has been trying to hold its value against gold. Let's bring up the Bitfinex chart. Okay, and we got on Bitfinex here. Let's talk about the bigger picture really quickly. Big outside, not big, but outside quarter. So outside bar in the quarter, prior quarter, inside month. Question is, how do you get outside that huge range? Those are the red bars. Those red lines is your range for the quarter. Very, very big range. Monthly chart, it has to somehow either break above here or there to change that outside condition. So there's a chance here now we might just go inside quarter. Very possible. Very, very possible. Let's see how that plays out. So there's your monthly chart, inside month right now, just beginning, but the weekly chart is going up. So here, it's been 2 weeks now. I've been long BTC, so I got long as soon as that thing broke. It came back in quite. I got in last week when it broke above that. It basically came back in very quickly. My stop's right there now, so it came close to stopping me out. Not quite. Came back up, and now we had finding a bit of resistance here, right here. See that level there? That's the prior quarterly open. We do have a new quarter now though, so that opens down here where it opened up. We still got some moving averages trending the downside, so buyers are not going to be stepping up yet, especially guys who don't like picking the bottoms. They're going to wait for things to come up even higher. But right now the 7,000 area acting as a bit of resistance for BTC. You're going to watch for that. You do not want to see, if you're a buyer of Bitcoin, you do not want to see this prior low get taken out, because that will basically stop out anyone who got long here, myself included. And so, and I'm fine with that. I do not want to be involved if things break below that area. But BTC sort of just doing it's very tight so far, but it's you can see it's slowly trending up, but this will not take much for this thing to get out to get sold, right? So right now, outside bar up, so Momo up, inside. If this thing breaks below here, right, there's the opportunity for the chance now for sellers to step back, step back up, and then stop out all these recent longs. Okay, so that's what you need to watch for. If they start to step back up and they sell, and this 7,000 area, which is right around here, holds as resistance, then yeah, you can expect this Momo pattern to get extinguished very quickly and for the price to come back into this range again. So for now, you got your quarterly, monthly open right there. The week's going to start up in a couple of days, or a little over a day. It'll open somewhere in here, wherever it's going to be in a day or so. And that's when you want to watch to see where does price transact in relation to the monthly, quarterly, and weekly open. Okay, and that's going to be your bias. So that's the chart on BTC. So let's talk about one example I talked about earlier. I said there was a chart that looked remarkably like VIX, and that chart is, or was, Zoom. So Zoom has certainly been the beneficiary of the whole WFH scenario, working from home, the new paradigm, and a lot of folks have been using the Zoom products, so the Zoom video conferencing, and they definitely were the beneficiary of one of the biggest beneficiaries of the COVID-19 saga. So let's talk about Zoom now and talk about the short that I took on this thing recently. Let's start here. So Zoom started doing a Bollinger Band walk and going very, very extended on the weekly charts. Does this chart look similar to this chart? There's your VIX chart, right? Give it a second. This is even more parabolic, all right? So remember, we had multiple weeks where we were deep in the Bollinger Bands. That was your Bollinger Band walk I talked about in the past. I said at some point this is going to make an exceptional short when this thing breaks below, a prior low and gets out of that Bollinger Band. Zoom, and one of the traders in my chat room, Claude, I thank Claude for that because he's the one who brought up Zoom. He said, hey, this chart looks sort of like the VIX chart, and he was right. He is right. This is very much like the Bollinger Band walk, not quite as parabolic as VIX, but if you look back from the beginning of the year, it's trading at 68. It got as high as 160, close to 165. So if you talk about let's just talk about the year here. So you opened up right here, let's say, opened up right there. From trough to peak, it was up 147%. It's not a bad run for 2020 when everything else is collapsing, right? So that's the weekly chart, and then finally, this past week, we were looking for shorting opportunities. As it started doing its Bollinger Band walk 2 weeks ago, we were looking at it and saying, okay, here's your Bollinger Band walk. If this thing breaks below, you have to watch out. Okay, so we were drawing our lines in like, okay, If this thing breaks below and closes below, that's a potential short, right? So there goes inside bar, inside bar. This past week, it finally did it. It went inside bar, up, up, and that's your weekly open right there. This is your Monday. Sorry, this is your Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It's right here. Your Monday's right there. Opens up high. All right, so gapped up, and then that creates the reversal. So on the lower time frame, it looks like this. Right there. On the lower time frame, here's your Monday. It gaps up. So anyone who got involved on Friday afternoon, this is Friday, you hold it, you're like, okay, gaps up on Monday, you got everything you wanted, right? You're like, yay, gaps up. You made a bunch of money. However, if this thing breaks below this bar's close, this bar's low, that's an inside bar reversal, right? So there's your inside bar reversal that will immediately take out the guys who bought on Friday afternoon. That triggers this sequence to the downside. So that's your inside bar reversal into highs. This is why it's such a nice pattern, because you know these guys here are basically looking for Momo. They're looking for momentum, and this extinguishes it, because then here you know they're getting stopped out. This will take all that, and then this is just a cascade down. And where I end up taking profits was here. I took some off, as it went down, but the big target I was looking for was this one here. There was a gap. Let me look at the daily chart. There, 118.71. So on Thursday, when it gapped down, opened down, I closed it out at 118.71. That was my target. And so we got out of that. Oh, yeah, we got out of that trade quite nicely there. 123.77. Yep. So that was a nice trade of that on that area there. So on the 2-day chart, it even gave you another signal to get even more short when the same thing happened here. So look at the 2-day chart. It's even cleaner. Momo up, up, inside, inside. Okay. Bollinger Band closes above it here. Once it breaks below there, correct, it breaks down. So inside bar up, breaks below there, comes back to the range again. There's your gap fill to the downside. So if, all in all, a very nice trade in Zoom from the peak there to the trough, a good 30% move, right, in about 4 sessions. So you can't complain about that kind of move, especially when when you can see that coming with a Zoom being extended the way it was. So great trade. Thanks again to Cloud for nailing that one and calling that one out. Okay, so let's talk about a few interesting charts to start the week, to start the second week of the quarter. So on the weekly chart, here's a few charts I'll be looking at this week. Retail sales. So the retailers, not retail sales, but retailers themselves, outside inside on the week. How's that break, right? Going into lows. So being a retailer right now, tough times. So this thing can certainly go lower. Outside inside, although it's going into lows, so you got to watch out for that. X-ray. Another one, X-ray, X-R-A-Y, medical specialties company. Outside inside setting up, so that's what you got to watch out for that. Earnings though coming out in April 27th, but this has some room to the downside here. Watch out to see how that breaks, or to the upside, see which way that breaks. What you should hear now is that you're still Momo down, all right? Momo down on the monthly chart, so expectations for continuation. Banks not looking good, so actually financials in general, watch out. This is something setting up here. This would definitely, if this thing breaks to the downside, would definitely be perhaps a catalyst, or maybe more ammunition for more downside on the overall indices. Outside inside on XLF. Okay, so just like the indices, how does it break, right? So if this thing breaks to the downside, let's put that in here. If you break to the downside, I want to make that purple for my weekly levels. If this thing breaks to the downside like that, outside inside and down below this purple level, yeah, that's going to be trigger more selling to the outside bar low there. That means you have things like Wells Fargo also looking quite nasty. So outside inside to the downside possibly. Okay, so watch for that. Outside inside, which way does that thing break? The reason I'm saying downside is because it's so close to breaking that low already. You might see that downside break. How you might see this play out though in the daily chart is a little bit more messy, in the sense that you might get an outside break to the downside on the week, right? On a Monday or Tuesday, and it'll pop back up in the range again. So it might do one of these where it might go breaks to the downside, pops back up, stops out all the early guys who try to get short quickly. The second mouse gets that cheese, and then boom, back to the downside again. So you might have a multiple, like I said before, but in reverse, an A, B, C type of scenario. You get the A move down, B, right, counter trend, and then C, continuation. So yeah, you got Wells Fargo looking with the same pattern. Bank of America, exact same pattern, outside inside. So something's certainly setting up here for financials, and even names like Mastercard. Okay, so they also got the outside inside setting up. You can see the big range at here. You break below there, once again, you got to watch out. So something setting up here for the financial sector. CSX, same exact pattern, outside inside. So that big, dead cat bounce that we had 2 weeks ago, this is definitely a risk now, because if a bunch of these names start cracking and going outside inside down, watch out for that low. And Etsy, even names that have it's more software related, outside inside, gig economy, or not even gig economy, but just people selling small trinkets on Etsy. Watch out, outside inside, the downside possibly. Another interesting pattern, a few names like this, Baba. Right, we know about the outside and up pattern now. We have that on the SPY and the Qs. Well, this outside up pattern resolves to the downside. Watch out, Baba, you come back down to the lows there. Same thing with the Exxon. Maybe oil names are not out of the woods yet, right? But look, this thing is like kind of like oil, UK oil we showed earlier. It already had its outside week 2 weeks ago to the upside, and it had continuation. Watch out though, Exxon suddenly breaks below that low there, it comes back through, then you know that this was just a dead cat bounce. So let's talk about our stars and dogs now for the week. To wrap things up, we're going to talk about and show a few charts to show where the money's been going, either in or out, based upon a modified Sharpe ratio. I'm looking for the strength of the trends. But for some of the names, and there aren't a lot of strong names right now, this past week was kind of weak overall, but we do have a few guys who are kind of outperforming. Zscaler, ZS, software company, this thing has held up very, very strong for the past 2 trading weeks, right? So inside, maybe you see a breakout here. Look at the weekly chart now, right there, inside week, right? And that pivot high right there is looking like a very, very easy pivot to take out. 66.5 maybe, yeah. Oh, that's look at that, same exact pivot. So that's high, same as that high. So let's see if that pivot gets taken out now. Zscaler. We got Wuba, a few Chinese ADR names. So Wuba looking strong. So we get a good couple of weeks. This is a pretty good week for Wuba. Weekly chart there. Okay, so a nice 1, 2, 3, 4 week combination. Now you got Sina, another Chinese ADR, looking fairly strong. Look at that. So a bit of a pullback there, and now outside up, one more to the upside. Now, how far does it take it? Names like Halliburton and a few other oil names. I'm not going to show them all, but they've had a good couple weeks since bottoming out. Once again, we got to watch out like Exxon. They don't have the outside bar, but if it does a reversal on the weekly chart, you got to watch out for that. And then a more Canadian name, something like Suncor, has had a good couple weeks here. Issue here now is it's gone Momo up. Momo up. This day here did break below that day, but they're still closed in the range. But here you got to watch out here now that if somehow, this is a very nice week, right? So you had a good 38% week for Suncor. If you break back below here, that is very, very bearish. You break below that level, very, very bearish. So you got to watch out for that. Okay, now let's talk about the dogs. We'll wrap things up. One name that's been getting no bounces, Intelsat. I don't know what's going on with this company because I don't follow it that closely in terms of the fundamentals, but there is no bottom in Intelsat right now. So I want to, that's a weekly chart. Look at that weekly chart. There's no bottom. On daily chart, it's just looking like it's going straight in the lows, right? So aggressive to the downside. If you been following the news, Luckin Coffee, LK. Obviously they had some financial shenanigans going on, potentially some fraud going on, so that stock got very punished. I think a funny remark I heard on Twitter was they should replace the L in LK with FK, because that's what's happened to this company. But yeah, those shareholders got destroyed on Thursday, so down close to 76% on Thursday alone. So that was one of the worst performing ones, and money got out of there quickly. So the trend changed quickly on that one. We had Space. So yeah, Space had been a high flyer, right? It doesn't seem like a long time ago when Space, look at that. Back in Feb, it had hit up to 42.50. We're trading at 12, right? So that is getting crushed. So it's still going. They've been selling it off the past couple weeks. Very weak chart now. SPCE, Xylo. So right now people do not like the real estate business. and they've been getting hurt. So look at the outside bar down, Momo to the downside, people getting quickly out of Xylo. You can see this move now, right? Big wave down, retrace. Now the expectations come back down here now and take out that level. Weekly chart looks a little cleaner, right? Inside week this past week. You break below there, you're going after those lows. Okay, did Xylo already. All the marijuana names. So we had a big bump here in marijuana names a couple weeks ago. So I had a good couple week rally, right? It bottomed out at the mid-March, and it had a good couple weeks here. But this week it started fading it. So the money started leaving again. So that looks like kind of you can see people taking profits here. Look at the big volume that happened on Tilray. Look, Momo up, right? Momo up. Once this thing breaks, they start selling it off. So there's your Tilray. Then all the names are the same thing. CGC, weak this week. So money leaving there. Momo down now on CGC. And NBEV, smaller player, but certainly getting close to hitting those lows once again. So that little dead cat bounce you saw on the weekly chart, they're getting very close to breaking below that low. So that's an inside week, right? So it would not take much at all to break this inside week back to the downside, and boom, your rally is gone. One final name, and we'll call it a wrap. Car. So who's renting cars nowadays? I don't think anybody. So that's what it's looking at right now. This looks kind of like a relief rally. Dead cat bounce, and then this thing's starting to break back down again. Weekly chart, inside week, right? Just like a lot of other stuff. How do you break outside of this range? Inside week to the upside or the downside. All right, so I want to thank everyone for tuning in to this week's video. I hope that you're staying safe and healthy in these trying times. As traders, as I said last week, we're we're in a very lucky position to be able to work from home. This is work from home in front of the computers is not new for us. We don't have a lot of new challenges or new new challenges. These are all sort of, if anything, it's actually a very opportune time to be trading, and I think we're getting a lot of new traders showing up to the markets right now. So I hope some of these videos do help some of you guys if you're newer traders. As always, if you enjoy these videos, click on the big like button. That'll help us attract more eyeballs. And if you want to get this video sent to you as soon as it's out, then subscribe to us on the YouTube, or you can go to my blog, thetradingedge.org, and you can join my newsletter there, where you'll get a link with this video when it comes out, as well as some of my perspectives on a weekly basis around trading and other things. As always, have a great trading week. It should be an interesting one, and I wish you happy trading.